I have no idea what's under this paint. No clue. When I saw this set listed, I was excited because I've worked on this brand before and it's like really good, high quality furniture. So I was very sad to see that it had been painted in, I don't know, just not in a great color combination. No hate to the previous owner or whoever painted it. So I bought it and I've been sitting on it for a long time now because I've been kind of dreading what it's going to take to get all of this paint off. So I don't normally buy furniture that's been previously painted for a lot of reasons, but the biggest reason is because you don't know what you're going to find under there. I mean, it could be a disaster. There could be all kinds of wood filler and Bondo and scratches and just, I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much. I really would like to go with an all natural wood look, but if there's problems, then I do have a plan B to paint it if I have to, but I'm really hoping I don't have to do that. I'm Amy. I build and revive furniture, often adding something new to something old. I'm sharing tips, tricks, and methods on how to give old pieces a new lease on life. Welcome to my shop. Okay, you know how when you're watching those home makeover shows and the cute little couple buys like the old 100-year-old house and they run in there after they buy it and they're starting to rip out carpet because they're really hoping to find pretty original hardwoods underneath the carpet? I'm kind of in that same situation. I don't know what I'm going to find underneath this paint. I just know that this paint, it has to go. Okay, so after 2 days of stripping, here is where we're at. You can still see there's quite a bit of overspray, but I think I'm just going to be able to get that with the sander. I can see some pretty wood grain here, so that's promising. That is very promising, but the wood is actually a lot darker than I thought it would be. This is definitely going to get darker when you even just apply a clear coat to it, so that'll be interesting. The other thing to note, here's an upside down nightstand. The other thing to note, lots of overspray, this is veneer over probably another hardwood. This is solid wood. You can see it goes all the way from there to there, and that's a solid piece of wood, but this panel in here, that's veneer. And I'm not sure if these are going to end up being the same color. A lot of times this ends up being a different color. Maybe it's a different wood species. A lot of times these pieces are lighter. This veneer, they do something darker. So I'm about to find out, because I'm about to start sanding to see what I'm dealing with here, to see if these pieces are going to match up or what. had my suspicions, but I wanted to wait until I got these pieces completely stripped and sanded before I said for sure. And now that they are, I can say with a lot of confidence that this is cherry, which is a beautiful, beautiful wood. And that lines up with this listing I found on Marketplace. I was really curious what this dresser looked like when it left the factory originally. Not because I necessarily want to restore it to original condition, but I was just really curious. So I found this listing. You can see that it is a very like red toned finish, and you can see the original hardware on there. And while the dresser in its original condition is really pretty, it's also very formal and traditional. And my market here in coastal Florida, it's not a big market for that style of furniture. So I'm going to embrace the natural wood for sure, but I'm going to make it just a little bit more classic and modern and not quite so formal and traditional. So I want to get a preview of what this is going to look like when I apply a top coat. I'm going to use a water-based polyurethane. So I'm actually literally just taking a wet rag and I'm just wiping this down. See how the color changes so dramatically? Cherry definitely changes and deepens and darkens when you apply your top coat to it. So especially with cherry, I always do this so that I have a preview what it's going to look like. I don't want any surprises after I've already sprayed polyurethane on it. So, and you can see that it's, you know, there's some unevenness to these parts. Like this is very, very red, whereas this is, you know, a little more like orange. So I'm going to be able to tone this a little bit, not to make any of this pretty wood grain disappear, but more just to tie just to even out the colors, just to even everything out a little bit, because you know, this might, you know, look kind of pretty by itself, but when you have this type of variation across a 6-foot dresser, it can start to look really busy. So the paint wash is dry. It's sat overnight. And this looks a little washed out and, you know, kind of pale. And honestly, that's sort of part of the process. Cherry is so tricky. You really have to, cherry is so tricky. And then you have to go back with a toner to sort of reintroduce some like warmer browns. That's the only way I know how to deal with cherry when you don't want to just embrace like the orange, you know, the very red orange, you know, type of tones, which I don't want to do with this set. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to add a toner to my top coat, and that will warm this up just a bit, and it won't look quite so pale and washed out, but again, it won't turn it red. It would have been ideal to use the original hardware holes for the new hardware, but unfortunately they were a very odd size. So I'm taking a cherry dowel and I'm plugging the old holes, and I'm going to go ahead and make new holes for the new hardware. This probably should have been done a lot earlier in the project, but I was being really indecisive about what I was going to do about the hardware. So you can definitely still see the dowels here, and really, really good experienced woodworkers and refinishers can use some different like blend all sticks and different tools and things like that to mask that. And I could probably give it a really good shot. I might be able to do a pretty good job, you know, masking it, but I'd have to do that 24 times. And I just don't know that it's worth my time. So what I'm going to do is I'm using a handle that is going to like just sit right over the top of it and cover it up. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to tint my top coat. So I'm going to take this medium brown dye stain and I'm going to add it to my top coat, which is a clear satin polyurethane. And the ratio, it's always different for me. I'm probably going to start with like 1 to 15, maybe even 1 to 20, because I can always add more of the dye stain in to my polyurethane if the color change isn't strong enough. But I'm going to do at least one coat, realistically, probably more. So the key with the tinted top coat is you want to go with really, really light coats and you want to gradually build up the color. I just finished all of the clear coating, and I have to say I am not happy with how this looks. I don't like it at all. It's still extremely uneven. There's still a lot of like, you know, red here where there's a lot of orange here. To me, it just looks really like rough. I love the top. It's a beautiful, even, warm brown. It's exactly what I wanted. But when you get to the drawer fronts, it's just not the same at all. So I don't normally do this. I almost never pull the plug at this stage in the project. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand down one drawer and I'm going to try again to try and color correct it and even it out. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to use the nuclear option. And by nuclear, I mean paint. So I took one drawer and I stripped it to the raw wood and I used a number of different paint washes to try and even out the color, and it really wasn't working very well and it wasn't matching what I was getting at the top. So just to see, I decided to try out like a dark stain, even though I really don't want to do that because dark stain furniture, I don't know, it just doesn't sell very well for me. So this is a dark stain applied, and even this is like very inconsistent. So you can still see the, you know, the edges are like a rich, you know, more of a rich brown, but you know, this part in here is still got a lot of orange to it. So I'm really just really at my wit's end. I don't want to paint this dresser. Really don't. But I just don't know how to get a good quality finish given all of the inconsistencies that we have. I'm afraid of going through all the trouble of sanding all of this down again and then going over it with a dark stain only to find myself right back here in the same situation. So I'm really discouraged. Okay, I sanded off the polyurethane and I have it taped off because I did really like how the top turned out, but I'm gonna go ahead and prime and paint the rest. And I'm just basically reminding myself why I'm going through all this trouble, because it's just so uneven. And I think the only thing I could do to even this out is to apply a really dark gel stain to it. And it might look really good, but I think it would take a really long time to sell. And honestly, the point of all of this is to sell it. So I really have to make, at this point, a business decision. I've already spent way too much time on this. Way more than I should have, about twice as long, honestly. And that's before I get into like actually editing and producing the video for it. So, I mean, at this point, I've got to wrap this up and get it in my retail space and try and make some money off of it. If you're disappointed seeing me putting primer over this wood, just know that you are not more disappointed than I am. Trust me. I had really high hopes that I could do an all natural wood look for this set, and I'm pretty bummed out that I'm gonna have to paint it. And in case you're wondering, yes, I do see the delicious irony in that I bought this furniture hoping to rescue it from paint, only to be going right back over it with paint. There's nothing wrong with your screen. I purposely made this footage in black and white because I don't want to give away the ending. And I have to say, some of my disappointment started to go away when I saw this color go on, because it is a really beautiful shade. So just as a quick reminder, this is where we started. Most of the dresser and nightstands were painted in a royal blue, and the drawer fronts were painted in like a creamy white with gold accents. The paint job wasn't doing real well. There's a lot of scratches and dings in the paint, and I'm not sure what kind of paint it was, but it just wasn't holding up very well. So this has been an adventure, to say the least. A lot of highs and lows, but I am very happy that this project is finally done. And here's how it looks now. I said earlier in the video that dark stained wood doesn't sell really well for me, and that is absolutely true, but dark moody colors do actually sell really well for me. I don't know, ask the Florida people, but the dark greens, dark blues, black, those have all been really good sellers for me lately. So I don't know if it's a trend or what, but I decided to do this dark moody green color. It's called Foxhall Green by Sherwin-Williams. And I love how it looks with the natural wood on the tops and the brushed brass hardware. And I just had so much fun with these drawer liners. I love the pattern and the colors in it. So I'm curious what you think. Would you have sanded it all the way down and kept trying for the natural wood look? Or would you have stained it dark? Or would you have just kind of given up on the wood look altogether and painted it like I did? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. I can't wait to make another one. I will see you again soon.